Moira, talk us through when you first entered the world of journalism. You know, you started back. What was the kind of newsroom like, press boxes? What was the environment, the atmosphere in them?
For me, it was quite a surprise because I'd been around football my entire life. I'd been going to games with my dad, my granddad since I was 3. It was a normal environment, but then walking into a press room was a surprise because there was almost it was like one of those horror movies. The first time you walked in, where the door creaks and everybody stops and stares at you and think, "What have I done?"
People used to treat me as a novelty. I mean, people would men, I must say, men used to casually walk by the desk from other departments and, sort of nudge and point and say, look, a lassie in the sports desk. I was a zoo exhibit, there's no doubt about it.
It was just the climate in the room among blokes who were writing about football. But football lent itself to that. It lent itself to that climate of sexism.
But does football still lean itself to that? Is the beautiful game that beautiful? What is it truly like being the woman in the man's world? Years ago, buildings like this, the hubs of our media landscape, would have been dominated by a sea of male faces. Now though, the picture is far more equal. Women like me can work in and contribute towards sports media in our country. At the very top of that is Ailey Barber, the face of Scottish football. I'm off to chat to Ailey about her experiences within the industry that she's excelling in.
As a woman, you're not able to make mistakes in the same way as men are. You pronounce a name wrong, you say the wrong, whatever. I mean, you're on telly for however long, right? You're going to say the wrong thing. You say the wrong thing or you make a mistake. It's not a mistake, it's that you don't know what you're talking about. That's still a thing.
If she isn't bringing you exclusive interviews at the Scottish Daily Mail, most weekends you will find Heather Dewar at a lower league Scottish club.
It's almost like sometimes people are just waiting to pounce on the slightest mistake, and that's purely because you're a female and because a lot of men out there don't think that females should be doing football reporting.
Kevin McKenna is one of the most recognisable names in Scottish journalism. During his time running the sports section of Scotland on Sunday, they appointed Ginny Clark as the first and only female sports editor in this country. Still in the game, now you'll find him writing for the Herald and the National amongst others.
There's still some resentment amongst males that women are making it in sectors and in industries which had been the exclusive preserve for males.
One of such roles is arguably that of sports editor of a newspaper, given there has only ever been one. Never in my lifetime has there been a female at the helm of a sports desk. But why have no other males followed Kevin's and Scotland on Sunday's lead?
Because male journalists are lazy. Male newspaper executives who make these appointments are just lazy. They don't go the extra mile to see what's out there. They take what they think is the safe option.
Moira Gordon is one of only 2 regular football writers in this country who are female. Alongside Alison McConnell, she has been in the minority.
I think there is still, at the top end of newspapers, I think there is still a sexism, sometimes an unconscious, but there is a sexism that they just see football writers as the guys, so there's that element of it.
But are these issues primarily found in Scotland? Heather Dewar and Jane Lewis have covered nearly every Scottish team between them for BBC Scotland. They also both kicked off their careers down at BBC Berkshire, and interestingly, their experiences south of the border were quite different to what they faced up here.
Where I have had a problem mainly in Scotland, and again, I would honestly say that this did not happen within the people that I worked with in England.
What down south do and have done maybe in the last 2 or 3 years, and they do it very well, is that they are making a conscious effort to be more diverse. And I'm not just talking gender, but I'm talking across the board, a real conscious effort, and they're doing that knowing that they might get criticised for it, but they're sticking with that because they know the bigger picture is the more diverse you are, the more engagement you're going to have with an audience, and it's just the right thing to do. In Scotland, I'll be honest with you, I think we're dragging our heels a little bit with that, and I think we could do a little bit more.
Up But in Scotland, if you miss a goal or you make the slightest mistake on a program like Sports Sound or Sports Scene or whatever it happens to be, you are totally vilified instantly. The same problem could happen with one of the male reporters, for instance, and it's seen as a joke. It's seen as being funny. You know, they didn't get the score right, whatever. The minute you do that as a female, you are crucified online.
Which begs the question, why are those at the top of the Scottish industry stuck in their ways?
A lot of it's fear of change. A lot of it is like old-fashioned snobbery, like it's a male game. You know, we're covering male football, so how can women know about that?
Even very, very recently, I turned up at a football match in my car, and the guy who was letting us into the car park said, "Are you here for the football?" And I was like, "Yes, I am."
So if you've got male football reporters saying, well, women, because they're women, because we're talking about male football, they can't really know. Well, I would say, well, you know, what gives you the right? Because you've never fucking played to that level. If you're wanting to use that as an argument, then how would you know? Because you weren't a very good footballer, hence why you're writing about it rather than playing it.
The Because You're a Woman line is one all too familiar to Leanne Crichton. The 72-time capped former Scottish internationalist is one of the leading women paving a punditry and commentary career in the male Scottish game.
Once upon a time I would have felt the need to try and justify what I was doing, but I think when you look at my career, and regardless of how you see women's football and men's football, and whether you think the men's game's better or the women's game, it's not the same level or it's not the same speed, it takes the exact same level of application and hard work and determination and sacrifice to get to both ends of the game, whether that's men or women. So for me, I think it's an uneducated opinion if you think that a female can't speak about football in the same capacity that a male can. That issue lies with you.
I'm a big believer in you don't want to be what you can't see. So if you don't have a female commentator, how does anybody know that you can be a female commentator?
Got to a point probably maybe about 2 years ago that anything that I was offered to do, you could have panicked and felt, no, I'm not quite ready for that. But I thought it was really important to say yes to most opportunities that came my way, because it can be like, if it's not life-changing for me, it could be life-changing for somebody else to see that and to hear that and to know that that's a possibility.
The idea for this documentary spawned from this comment I received whilst commentating on Bonnyrigg Rosie's Scottish Cup tie against Bo'ness United. We're often told that outlooks and opinions have changed, that we live in a far more equal society. Undeniably we do, but for a comment of this nature to come in on the first day of 2021, it acts as a stark reminder that this dinosaur mentality still exists. I was intimidated to speak out as a 20-year-old woman in this man's world, but thankfully I didn't need to get the ball rolling on this one. My co-commentator of the same age as me instead leapt to my defence. An act Graham Spears feels speaks volumes.
I see this even today. I think new generations of kids and journalists and young people who have emerged, who just have a more decent outlook. They just have a more modern outlook.
Alongside a more inclusive generation, initiatives promoting equality are much more accessible across the industry. With all this in mind, are better days coming?
It's been so heartening to see there has been a lot of change in the past couple of years, and I genuinely believe it. I don't think it will be long before there are a lot more Ginny Clarks around. I think that will happen again very soon. I'm sure it will.
But while the sea may be changing from within, the next batch of Ginny Clarks have a monster in front of them. Social media can be a cesspit. Anyone can attack anyone, and it is unquestionably the easiest form to abuse.
I just don't think that men get anything like the amount of negativity when it comes to reporting as females do. And the reason, again, is because there are a lot of men out there who just think, and there'll be normal people who appear perfectly fine and perfectly friendly and polite, but when they hear a woman reporting on football or commentating on football, no way. it's just seen as, what is she doing? What is that station doing, putting a woman on there?
There was an article at the beginning of last year on the BBC, and it was around abuse in female pundits, and I spoke about that, and I wasn't speaking about it looking for sympathy, and I was just being honest. Everybody is a victim of online abuse.
This documentary has gone down a very different path than I envisaged it would. I never thought that the rooted theme would be that of systematic sexism within the industry. Perhaps that shows my naivety, or perhaps that shows my hope. Hope that things have changed for my generation. We've undoubtedly come a long way since Ginny, Jane, Moira and Heather started out, even from Ailey's time. But the takeaway from chatting with these titans of our industry is, be under no illusion, sexism has certainly not yet been scuppered.
In really ending endemic sexism and having equality. But maybe it's a pipe dream, I don't know.